1980s gave us some of the coolest comedies ever. Movies full of high school crushes, crazy college parties, and wild adventures with groups of friends. It was a golden era for coming-of-age chaos. But let's be honest, 4 decades later, a lot of what we saw in those films, no Hollywood studio would dare touch that today. Today on the Retro Stories, 80s movies that nowadays would be completely canceled. Let's get started. Teenage years are that wild stage in life when our personality starts to take shape. It's a time deeply influenced by the last bits of our childhood, mixed with a hunger and thirst for all the natural impulses that make our blood boil. It's a universal phase, one that might evolve with the times but never really goes out of style. And it was right in that steamy, awkward, hormone-fueled age group that filmmakers in the late 70s and early 80s found the perfect audience. Teens craving something bold, edgy, and just a little bit spicy. Benjamin Robert Clark was born in the southern United States in the late 1930s. He later moved to Florida where he studied theater. New friendships and connections eventually led him to direct his first feature film in 1967, She-Man, the story of a successful man who's blackmailed by a woman into living and dressing as her personal maid. In the 1970s, Clark shifted gears and dove into horror with films like Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, Death Dream, and one of his biggest cult classics, Black Christmas, a movie that would become a key milestone in the evolution of the modern slasher genre. He also produced Moonrunners, the film that would later inspire the TV series The Dukes of Hazzard. But his biggest commercial success came in 1982 with a very unusual film.
20th Century Fox would like to introduce you to Pee-wee and his pal, Tommy, Mickey, Tim, and the biggest man on campus. What? When they're not in class, they're into everything.
A group of high school students from Angel Beach is planning to achieve what every teenager dreams of at that age. And Pee-wee Morris, one of the youngest in the group, is particularly eager because this will be his first time. To make it happen, they all head to a small cabin in the woods, where a woman promises to fulfill the group's needs. However, this turns out to be nothing more than a cruel prank set up by the more experienced members of the group. Meanwhile, at the school, one of the coaches can't seem to take his eyes off Lynn, a very interesting, young, and attractive gym teacher played by the stunning Kim Cattrall, who we later saw in Police Academy. Under Pee-wee's spiritual leadership, who still dreams of losing his virginity before graduation, the group sets off in a caravan to a weird southern bar.
Unfortunately, we can only show you the outside of Porkys, because what goes on inside is not to be believed.
Porkys isn't just any bar. It's a dive in the middle of nowhere, a cross between a pub, a brothel, and a carnival sideshow, run by a massive man known to everyone as Porky. The guys, fueled by hormones and more dreams than sense, head in together looking for action and end up swindled and humiliated. Between shouting, fights, and a dunk in the lake, they're kicked out like lab rats. While the eager students keep looking for ways to bounce around with a girl, their best idea is to visit one of the school's most secret spots, the Disneyland for peeping toms, an inexplicable architectural oddity that exists between the men's and women's locker rooms. It's here where the most iconic scene of the movie takes place. The guys spy on their classmates while they shower. At first they don't notice, but due to a slip-up by Pee-wee, the girls catch them in the act. And then one of them, taking it to the next level, starts a kind of glory hole for a special appearance. But the show is cut short when Beulah Balbricker, the head of the female coaches, intercepts him with a brutal grip that looks straight out of a martial arts movie. In an act of extreme physical violence and righteous fury, she attempts to tear him apart right there. Mickey, one of the guys in the group, often disappears from the scene and returns all beat up. Well, that's what happens every time he tries to go back to Porky's to claim his money, or at least get the services he paid for. But eventually, his older brother, a local sheriff, gets fed up with seeing him like this. So, with the law on his side, he joins the gang to put an end to this once and for all. And here comes the big finale, a mix of a commando mission and vigilante justice. The group of teens comes up with a plan to humiliate Porky and make him swallow his pride. Amid laughter, confusion, some boats that mysteriously appear, a tow truck, and a generous dose of controlled chaos, they manage to take down the southern dive. They leave it in ruins, like an inflatable castle that someone just stabbed with a fork. And even though Porky and his corrupt henchmen chase them, they finally cross the county line where the sheriff is waiting, along with other students, the school band, and a dose of their own medicine. So what happened to Pee-wee? Well, let's just say that with a little bit of pity, he finally got what he wanted. wanted. With a budget of $5 million, Porky's turned into an unexpected box office smash, raking in a whopping $160 million. This surprising success not only cemented the film as a staple of 80s teen comedy, but also launched it into cult status, making it a pop culture classic that even got its own video game.
It's the Porkys video game, conceived totally with the box office phenomenon in mind. The Porkys video game features an 8K memory for outstanding graphics and multi-level play, even on the Atari 2600.
Yes, believe it or not, Porky's actually got its own video game for the Atari 2600. It's an absolute disaster, but super collectible. Just a year later, Pee-wee and his friends continued their adventures in a new film that didn't even come close to matching the success of the first one.
Porky's 2, the next day, rated R.
Still, 20th Century Fox kept betting on recapturing the essence of the story, and in 1985, they released a third installment. Not only could it be seen in theaters and rented at video stores, but like the previous two, it would also occasionally pop up on TV.
En Porky's 3 te esperan nuevas y super divertidas aventuras.
Today, Porky's would be a minefield for social media and cancel culture. It has shower spying, misogynistic jokes, discrimination against minorities, jokes about sexual orientation, harassment disguised as teenage mischief, and a long list of behaviors in a comedy that would be canceled before they even finished writing the script. No doubt these were different times. In the mid-80s, teen movies aimed at and about teenagers were gaining more and more ground in the industry. Taking advantage of this trend, 20th Century Fox brought a very curious film to theaters, Revenge of the Nerds.
One of the funniest films of the year. I laughed my head off. Sneak previews. It's gratifying, raunchy, and uproarious. The Nerds triumph. Los Angeles Times. It's really, really funny.
Lewis and Gilbert are two standout students who arrive at college dreaming of women and computers. Who could blame them? The bad news hits almost instantly. The popular jocks, with tons of muscle but zero brain cells, burn down their own fraternity house and decide to take over the dorm of the newcomers, who end up living like refugees in the college gym. The nerds, though humiliated and displaced, don't give up. They rent an old house, fix it up, and start their own fraternity. A perfect hideout for a group of outcasts. Meanwhile, the disdain from the popular girls and the hatred from the alpha betas keeps growing. The girls trick them into thinking they'll attend their party, only to stand them up. And as members of the student council, they stop them from forming their own fraternity. No matter what the nerds try, the popular crowd is always there to ruin their plans. But of course, there comes a point where even the most patient people snap. So our lovable brainiacs set up a strategic plan. As the sun sets, the Nerd Squad sets their first big tactical move in motion, a night operation worthy of Mission Impossible. Using their tech knowledge, they infiltrate the popular girls' sorority house and strategically install a hidden camera system. Well, hidden is a bit of a stretch. These are massive cameras, visible through huge holes. But hey, it's what they had. What seemed like a simple act of revenge turns into a voyeur's paradise. Thanks to an advanced antenna transmission system, the nerds tune in live to the girls' locker room, creating a sort of underground reality show that they watch all night long from the comfort of their living room. And so, not only do they, but the viewers of this movie end up attending an intensive class on female anatomy. This is exactly why the film earned an R rating from the Motion Picture Association, only suitable for viewers over 17. The bullying jocks don't get off scot-free either. The nerds infiltrate the locker rooms, and as part of their retaliation plan, they put a spicy liquid in the alpha beta's jockstraps. The result, a sports practice that ends in screams, frantic jumping, and players running as if they'd shoved a hornet's nest down their pants. Still, the members of the student council refuse to let them create their longed-for fraternity. Their last hope is to win the annual Greek Festival, a competition where all the fraternities showcase their skills in various events. If they can beat the alpha betas and their allies, they'll earn the official recognition they've been chasing. So the nerds prepare to battle with the only weapons they have: wit, creativity, and a burning desire to prove themselves. They win the tricycle race, but lose the Trojan parade. They win the belching contest, but lose the arm wrestling. They decide to embrace their physical inferiority to humiliate the rivals. And here comes one of the more memorable competitions. Basically, the team that raises the most money wins. The popular boys and girls sell kisses. You stand in line and pay 50 cents for a peck, $2 for a longer kiss, and $5 to stick your tongue in the mouth of the beautiful cheerleaders. Unless, of course, you're a nerd, because apparently even paying, no one wants to kiss them. To the surprise of the popular crowd, crowd, the nerds take the lead in fundraising thanks to their sale of pies. After all, not only are they delicious, but the plates hide a stolen image that makes them particularly attractive. And here comes the most questionable scene in the entire movie. After Betty, the cheerleading captain, refuses to kiss Louis, he puts on the costume that just a few moments earlier had been her boyfriend's. Unaware of the deceit, Betty guides him inside one of the attractions. It's here that the scene highlights the shift in times. What was once treated as a harmless romantic joke now stands as a deceptive and extremely inappropriate behavior. Finally, when Louis reveals his true identity, Betty not only doesn't react with indignation, but she's utterly surprised by the nerd's performance and magically falls in love with him. As a final challenge, the popular kids put on a theatrical performance with role switching, and the nerds perform live with an all-out 80s techno jam. The afro-wearing kid and the child prodigy rock Michael Jackson looks Louis and Gilbert go full Devo style. The Japanese guy channels the village people, the violinist goes eccentric, and Booger transforms into the most rock and roll Elvis Presley you've ever seen. With this, they win the grand prize of the competition, earning the victory. Naturally, this infuriates the popular crowd who, in a desperate and vengeful act, destroy the nerd's house. Finally, to put an end to the madness, Gilbert decides to confront the bullies. Even though they humiliate him once again thanks to his friends, he stands tall and delivers an epic and inspiring speech that captivates everyone present, who now cheer for them. While Revenge of the Nerds wasn't the commercial success of Porky's, it did something admirable. It multiplied its budget by 10 and became one of those cult films that left a lasting mark on pop culture. The formula worked so well that sequels followed. In 1987, Revenge of the Nerds 2, Nerds in Paradise was released, where our heroes head to the beach.
We're back!
Revenge of the Nerds 2, Nerds in Paradise.
In 1992, The Next Generation arrived, where the original protagonists are now older, but bullying is still as prevalent as it was in the 80s. Then, in 1994, they tried to wrap up the story with Revenge of the Nerds 4, Nerds in Love, an attempt to close the saga with a bit of romance.
In Aromavision and 3D. It's Revenge of the Nerds 4, Nerds in Love.
As if that wasn't enough, in 1991, a pilot for a TV series was filmed with different actors, but it never saw the light of day. Maybe because they knew that without the original nerds, the magic just wasn't the same. Thinking about it seriously today, no Hollywood studio would dare to film something similar to this 80s classic. Another one of those classic 80s comedies is Bachelor Party, starring a young, unhinged Tom Hanks. No drama, no tears, no aspirations to win an Oscar. The story is simple but effective. Rick, Hanks's character, is about to get married to his fiancée. Everything is going well until his friends decide to throw him a bachelor party. And, well, we all know what that means in an 80s movie. Alcohol, strippers, confusion, destruction, a donkey in the elevator, and a group of characters that seems straight out of a comic book. The movie has that fast-paced, chaotic rhythm that never lets you catch your breath, with absurd situations that escalate into total delirium. It's like a wilder version of The Party, mixed with Porky's, the classic combination. Bizarre humor, outrageous situations, and over-the-top characters. And even though it's total chaos, there's a lovable Tom Hanks who balances the madness with his charm. Because yes, before becoming Forrest Gump or the captain of Saving Private Ryan, Tom also dived into a no-rules party where everything could go wrong. If you haven't seen it, it's a great snapshot of that era when comedies didn't ask for permission to go to the limit. A few years ago, while searching for movies in this genre, I came across Joysticks. And of course, how could I resist this poster? This 1983 film tells the story of Eugene, a very shy young man who has just moved to a small town. It's here that he ends up being the victim of some girls' pranks while working at the arcade. The arcade represents everything that the conservative adults of the time hated: noise, rebellion, technology, and youth having fun. The villain is an ultra-conservative businessman who wants to shut down the arcade, convinced that video games are corrupting the kids in town. The movie is a comedy full of absurd situations, simple humor, and of course, arcades like Pac-Man, Defender, and many others, which makes it a kind of time capsule. It's not a masterpiece of cinema, but if you like retro stuff, it's a fun time. That's all for today. Let me know in the comments which of these movies is your favorite. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We have plenty more videos that you'll definitely enjoy. See you next time.